Betsy, I'm worn out with everybody telling us it's a tremendous America. Without question, the mail I get the greatest on is your world, which is the inequality within our labor economy. Is it true that the haves are taking it all?
Well, that's exactly what we've been seeing, is that income gains have been going disproportionately to the top. Now, in the recent year, we've seen a little bit of spread, and so we've seen some income gains going throughout the distribution. Policies that raised minimum wages around the country have done a lot to lift wages at the bottom, and we're seeing that in the data. But let's take a broader look. Since 2000, we've added $10,000 in real GDP per capita. So each person in the country, we're producing $10,000 more stuff, and yet real household income has been largely stagnant. So where is all that money going? Well, it's all going disproportionately to the top.
Betsy, part of this is the medical industry. We learned the other day that not 16%, but 19% of our output is going to America. Are we missing the wage growth because it's going into medical growth and medical benefit growth?
Well, there's certainly something to be said for the fact that healthcare has become an increasing share of households' budgets, and we don't actually see it in household income, because a lot of people, those costs are being paid by their employer, or it's being paid by the government and for Medicare. So some of those costs we don't see, and that's definitely been part of the problem, but that's not the whole answer, obviously.
Betsy, given what you've just said about, I don't know whether it's a distribution concern or the fact that, much more money is going to the top 1%, but does America, and do you have economics, to support that, does America want a change? And will that basically, to overshadow anything when it comes to economics for the next 2 years?
So I think America does want to change, but what they want is not... What they want is an economy that feels a lot fairer to them. So there's some really easy ways we could do some redistribution that everybody wants. I'll give you one example: paid sick leave. Most Americans, the vast majority of Americans, believe in paid sick leave. If we give everybody paid sick leave, that's a small token way of redistributing, ensuring that the gains are broadly shared. As we're getting richer as a society, we can afford paid parental leave. We can afford paid sick leave. Those are ways in which we share prosperity by saying, look, the labor market is improving. People are producing more. We're becoming a richer society. Let's make sure you have time. You can take paid time to spend with your family. So that's one small step. But I do think people are increasingly frustrated, and what they don't understand is what needs to be done. So there's sometimes just this well of anger because what they see is they're not getting their fair share, and they're right.
But is the U.S. creating quality jobs, and are people trained to do the jobs that there are openings for?
So, I mean, that's a broader question. I mean, are we creating quality jobs? Absolutely. Look, we added over 500,000 jobs in professional and business services in the last year. That's a major source of our exports as well. People often think, oh, we export cars or we export stuff, but a third of America's exports are services, and they're often in services like business and professional services. We send a consultant to another country. The thing that concerns me is that the United States used to lead the world in having the most educated workforce, and our comparative advantage in the global market has always been having the most skilled workforce. We are losing ground to other countries, and we're not, even though nearly 2/3 of students start school, college, we end up with only 36% of people in their late 20s and early 30s with a college degree. What happens? They run out of money. They run into trouble. They can't, they end up having to drop out because of financial challenges, because of personal challenges. Many students are not relying on parents, but are parents themselves. And we don't provide that infrastructure, that support for people who are trying to go back to school as parents. And so they wrestle with childcare and housing, and there's really no support for that, and they end up dropping out. We are ceding, I think, one of our very, very important edges in the world when we allow our workforce to become less educated than many other developed countries.
Professor Stevenson, one of the great hallmarks of your work is a foundational microeconomics. We see Amazon, and there's different reports, and I'm sure some PR guy from Amazon's going to call me up and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, but any given company goes up to $15 an hour minimum wage, and then shocked, they diminish the hours of the employees. Not that the system can be gained, but there are incentives for business to say raise the wage, but change the mix of that wage or the hours worked. That's to be expected, isn't it?
Well, I think the other way to think about it is that the economy is constantly creating and destroying millions of jobs. What we want to see is that technological change allows the mix of jobs to change towards a set of higher paying jobs. So it may be the case that Amazon needs fewer workers and is going to pay the fewer workers that they have more money, but the technological changes that Amazon is also creating space for lots of people to branch out, create their own business. And one hopes that a bunch of new jobs are created that pay even higher than $15 an hour. So I don't worry about any particular sector losing jobs as long as we see net job creation occurring, and occurring in a way in which people can have a job that pays a living wage. And so I applaud efforts to see the wages at the bottom being raised, even if that means that they're going to need fewer of those exact same workers in this economy where we're creating plenty of jobs. What I want to see is the wages going up.